Hi everybody, and welcome to our webinar on how to make digital tools work for your group, and thank you very much for joining us. My name is Trish O'Gorman and I work for Landcarer Australia, managing the growth of the Landcarer platform and its user community. Hopefully you can hear us and see the screen alright. You'll see a comments box on the left hand side of your screen. So please pop a note in there if you've got any difficulties seeing us or hearing us. And also we'll be throwing out a few questions during the session. So once we do that, if you'd like to pop your answers into that comment box, we'll be able to see it as well. If you're viewing this, it's best viewed on a computer or a tablet. If you are viewing it on your phone, you'll need to scroll down underneath the screen to see the comments box. So we'll aim to keep the session to around 45 minutes, and we'll leave time at the end so Megan and Rohan can take your questions. If we don't get to answer all of them during the session, we will do our best to get back to them in the comments afterwards. I'll now hand you over to your presenters, Megan and Rohan, to introduce themselves.
Yeah, thanks Trish. Hey everyone. So I'm Megan Rowlatt, and I am originally from the Illawarra region, just south of Sydney, where I was involved in lots of different organisations and I guess involved in the Landcare movement in different ways as well, from a volunteer to a local volunteer group coordinator, also a paid employee as a local Landcare coordinator working with our regional Landcare network, and also working with Intrepid Landcare, a national organisation, with a group of young people spanning across Australia. So the needs for digital tools have been really diverse for me in those different roles, which I'm hoping to share a little bit with you today. And over to you, Ro.
Hello, and thank you all for taking time to join us for this webinar. We hope at the end of the session you have some key takeaway points on digital tools for your group. And the geeky person in the picture right now, that's me. I'm Rohan Antao, the Innovation and Technology Manager at Landcarer Australia. And I'm here to talk to you about Landcarer as a tool for your community group. With that brief introduction, I'll hand it over to Megan to kickstart this webinar. Sorry, we're having a few technical difficulties right now.
That's okay. I'll just start. So you just heard a little bit from us really briefly. What we'd like to invite is just to kick off using that comment section, is just to invite you to share who you are, what network you're from, or even if you're just showing up as an individual, and what you're hoping to get out of this session today. This will help us get a little bit more information to make sure we're handing over some information that's going to work for you. And even if we don't get to all of that content today, we can at least start to address some of those curiosities or questions you might have in the comments after this webinar is finished. And just to run through what we'll be covering today, we're going to just talk a little bit about the pitfalls and challenges with digital tools and platforms, and then dive in a little bit, like how do you kind of wade through that, those challenges, some of the overwhelm that comes with choosing what to use, what's going to serve your group and network best, and how to make a decision on what the right ones might be. We're going to share a little bit about what the wins have been, not just for us, but also for yourselves. We recognise that there would be huge amounts of expertise and experience in people who are showing up to today's webinar. So really, really keen to hear from you and what's working for you, so that we have a bit of a sharing culture. And then that will lead us into talking about the possibilities with this Landcarer tool that's really in its infancy, and what might be possible when we work and dream together to make this new tool work for everybody who might be engaging with it. And then with the time we've got left after all of that content's been shared, we hope to explore some of your questions. And as Trish mentioned, we may not get to all of the answers, but we'll definitely make an effort to answer those online after the webinar has completed. It's also an opportunity for you to share this with anyone who is missing out on today's session. So this will be recorded and shareable later on. So we hope to keep the conversation flowing well and truly after this is finished today. So thank you for showing up, and we hope you get a lot out of this. We will be asking some questions throughout the sessions. Just to let you know, there is a little bit of a delay, so we're going to ask the questions up front. So while I'm sharing some of the information, we can capture your questions and comments, and then we'll revisit them after each section. So the first question we really want to start to explore is, what have been some of your challenges or your barriers or pitfalls when you're working with digital tools and platforms? And as you're commenting in the comment section, we encourage you to use these hashtags, which are going to help us filter your comments. So the first hashtag when you're commenting with your feedback on this is using the hashtag challenges. Okay, so when I started working within the Landcarer movement, which was 12 years ago, really the only digital platforms and tools that we were using, it was nice and simple, was a website and our email. And when we wanted to promote things, we really just engaged with local print media. Social media was really in its infancy, and the way we collected data for our groups was really just in paper form and stored in folders in the cupboards at one person's house. Then with the explosion of social media and I guess the use of what social media platforms could offer evolved, this whole world of possibility in promoting what we did opened up. And the first of that was Facebook, which was a wonderful tool for promoting our events for free, reaching a bigger audience, telling our story to a larger network of people, creating memories for our groups and volunteers who showed up to projects. So there's all this amazing opportunity to really get our story out more broadly. And with the evolution of these tools came this massive explosion of all these other platforms and tools. And we suddenly had Twitter and Instagram and cloud-based storage for our files and information, different email platforms. There was an evolution in stuff that youth were showing up onto, like Snapchat. In terms of organising our projects, we have now platforms like Trello for project management. We've got LinkedIn as a professional network to engage in meetings online. We've got, not just Skype, but there's Google Hangouts, there's now Zoom. And to share our digital stories, we've got YouTube and Vimeo, we've got live streaming on Facebook. So there's all of these opportunities and so much choice. It's and getting excited about that, we decided to test out a lot of those platforms. But with that came the burden of managing so many platforms and so many tools. We really had to start to question, okay, what's working for us, and are we really reaching the audiences that we want to? And it's a really interesting thing to consider in terms of challenges, is that there's a lot of knowledge that then comes with using these platforms, particularly when we do ask that question about reach. And things like algorithms and knowing where your content's showing up now is a big issue. It's like, are our posts reaching people? Are they staying in people's news feeds? Also knowing what time of day to post things. So all of that information is now really relevant, and staying on top of that is also another thing that takes time, energy, resources, skills and capacity. There's also the issue of, particularly when talking about social media, is the competitive noise that's sitting there. Is people have so many other interests, they're using these tools for other reasons, they've got other things popping up in their news feeds, they've got all of these competing things that are our events, is our information reaching the people that we want to. And I know that for myself, I often find it hard to find information that's relevant to me, looking for opportunities in terms of volunteering, information to share about what other groups are up to, places I can learn more. And then there's also the challenge of technology evolving and changing. And if you look at, particularly in Facebook, that tool has evolved and changed so much in the last 10 years. So the question is, will it still fit our needs into the future as this technology evolves and is also meeting the needs of lots of different industry groups, lots of different communities, and is going to shift and change into the future without a doubt. Another issue is as these platforms have evolved and people are on lots of different places and using lots of different tools, we're competing with lots of different information, how do we actually find each other? And this is an issue that comes up a lot when I'm particularly working with new volunteers who are looking for opportunities to get involved. A simple search online on a social media platform just doesn't always cut it in terms of finding what's happening in their local community, what's happening near them. Are they welcome to show up to these things? I mean, the names of groups are really different. They're not often location specific. So knowing what's happening is still a challenge. And while there's lots of great websites like the gateway platforms in New South Wales and Victoria, there still seems to be some information missing because I'm still getting these inquiries even though they go out to these tools and search for this information. And to be honest, being new in a new community in Queensland, I'm also finding it hard to find local opportunities when I'm searching online. So there seems to be a disconnect in the fluidity of this information and how easy it is to find. There's also the challenge that when we are all volunteers and people are existing at different capacities, working within different expectations, and I really want to just touch on the fact that mental health and burnout is something that is becoming increasingly important to consider, and it's an issue that's emerging more and more as our lives get busier, as the technology gets faster, as there's more available to tap into. And I am noticing through my work, particularly with young people, is that a lot of people are starting to opt out of using social media because it is taking a toll on their mental health. So what does that mean for the future use of that type of technology? And also recognising that when we do take on a lot as volunteers and try and keep up with information and knowledge and all of the diversity of tools that are out there, that doing too much can lead to burnout. So those sorts of things are issues that are very real, and I think they need to be considered when we're making decisions about where to put our energy and time. And then also limited time and resources, that being people and financial. Often there's an expectation that these things will be taken up by one person or a paid person in a position of a coordinator role. So thinking about the sustainability of that, and when all of that knowledge is sitting just with one person, what would happen if that person then suddenly wasn't available anymore? So Trish, I just want to hear some of the challenges, if you've had any feedback through the comments at this stage.
Yeah, we have. So David just posted a challenge is how to decide kind of how much content and the frequency of content that you post. Do you have any kind of tips around that?
Yeah, I mean, Rohan, you might have some tips as well. I guess in my experience, looking at when you've decided on a digital platform to use, there's a lot of information out there and guidelines that can help share information about, okay, well, I'm using this particular platform. It might be Instagram, for example. Knowing how to build an audience out of that can be around how often you post, the type of visuals that you post. That's the same as Facebook. Did you want to add anything to Rohan, your digital tech whiz?
Well, I completely agree with you. It honestly depends on first understanding what your key aims are, who your audience is, and once you got that pegged down, it depends on the tool that you're using again. But there are multiple variables that go into that particular answer. So.
We also have Linda is kind of saying that she's finding it challenging. She's trying to organise a meeting for 6 people and has limited access to a venue. Is there a digital solution for this? I'd say both of you guys probably could talk to this one.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, running a national organisation that spans across the east coast of Australia, we really heavily rely on digital tools to keep in communication with each other. At the moment, we're using Google Hangouts. It seems to work. I'm a huge fan of Zoom, personally. I think it works really well for when you haven't got such a strong internet connection. It seems to not drop out as much. I know that Australian Landcarer International start using it at their AGMs and their meetings. It's working really well, having people kind of beamed into the meetings and being able to participate. But it is a paid resource, so just keeping that in mind. But you can use it for up to 45 minutes at a time for free. So It's just looking at what resources you have and what your needs are in terms of internet connection speed and how you would set up that space as well and make sure that people are heard and able to see each other.
Great, thank you. And then Nicole's commented that only some groups are on Facebook, or only some groups have Facebook pages. So I guess it's kind of the lack of consistency with what people are doing.
Yeah, that's right. And with all the diversity, it's like people are groups and individuals are spread across a lot of platforms, and so yeah, it is an issue, and having everyone in the one space is something that is missing for us as a movement, I think. Yeah, we might move on to the next one, but thank you for your comments. So in all of that overwhelm and deciding what to do and where to be and where to place your energy, I just want to share some of the things that have helped guide our decision making to decide what tools to use and put your time and resources into. And really, it's this is a great exercise to do for anything. If you haven't done this with your group, or if you have done it and haven't looked at it in the context of making decisions around communications and digital platforms, is revisiting what's the purpose of your group and network. What's your overall vision, and what are you working towards as a network? And then within that, looking at, okay, what are the needs that we as individuals, our group, and our audience have, that we can then choose our digital platforms and tools to align with this so that they meet those needs and that purpose. And so I'll just share quickly about how we made that decision with Intrepid Landcare, just to give you some context. We have this purpose as an organisation to have more young people connected to their local communities doing stuff that matters for the environment. That's our overarching goal that we're working towards. And within that, the needs that we've really recognised as the core ones we really want to focus on is to share and promote opportunities for young people to get involved in, to connect young people to projects and communities and those pathways of connection and involvement, to inspire people to get involved, particularly young people, as well as communities who want to support young people, to share tools and resources that help empower communities and young people to do the projects that they want to do, to collaborate together, and also support young people to grow as a community of new leaders. And so those needs kind of really sit in the background of us making decisions about what tools we're going to use. And so with that, we've really decided to focus on a website. We've chosen 3 social media platforms, being Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And also, as an organisation that spans across the country, we really need to be mindful of our connection and our accountability as people running projects, as people collaborating, and keeping accountable to our legal responsibilities as a not-for-profit organisation, and deciding to put all of that energy into using the tools that Google offers. So that's really helped inform our decision making. So yeah, if you want more information about that process, I'm more than happy to share informations and templates that can help you kind of dive into that discovery. And also we've looked at that within the resources we have as an organisation. What's our time, what is the funding we have available, and are the decisions we're making now sustainable into the future, so we can keep engaging with these platforms and tools and make them work for us. What I say to people who are just starting out as a new group or network is just choosing 1 or even 2 things, and just discovering that and doing that well. And as your confidence grows, as your capacity builds, perhaps you're inviting more skilled people into your network, you can start to branch out and test and play with the other tools and platforms that are out there that might work for you. And it is okay to play with something and then decide that it's not working for you. I mean, I remember when I was doing my business diploma, the biggest thing that was coming out in the business world was Snapchat. Everyone needs to be on Snapchat. It's how you're going to reach the next generation. They're not using Facebook anymore. They're not using the other digital platforms. And we started using it, and to be honest, it didn't work for us. It wasn't resulting in people on the ground. It wasn't resulting in people inquiring more about the projects and the programs we were running. So we decided to drop it, and that was fine. It was an experiment. And then the last point that I just want to make is inviting skilled people into your work. And I think that often people get caught up in feeling really pressured to know how to do everything and to get it right and to be able to promote your group really well. And a good example of this was when I was working with our regional network, Landcarer. Our funding was cut down, my time was cut down, there was limited skills within the network in terms of how they used and interacted with social media in particular. And so we decided to put out to the university network a type of internship role where we were inviting young people who had the skills in social media use, who didn't particularly want to go out and get their hands dirty contributing to local landcare projects, but they had this value of wanting to give back to the local environment. And this was a way of doing that. So we invited them to apply through an expression of interest to be our social media managers. And we had one person managing our Twitter account, one person managing our Facebook account. And for 12 months, we had 2 highly skilled young people stepping into that role. And I think about 10 people applied in 10 minutes for those positions. So looking at opportunities to invite other people who might not have thought of inviting into your work, and then just creating that space for them to offer their gifts to what you want to do. Yeah, okay. So the next question we're going to explore is kind of a bit more of the positive and what's working well. And we really want to hear from you what digital tools are working really well for you and why. And again, just inviting you to use that hashtag so we can filter through these comments a little bit easier, is hashtag working. Okay, and so as I mentioned, the tools that are working really well for us, and we've made that decision based on our, recognizing our needs and purpose, are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then at the back end we're using Google for our management systems and data collection. And I guess just on Facebook, I still think that is probably the most successful and versatile tool that we're using at the moment, because it really aligns with a lot of the needs that we have. It allows us to promote our work, our events, and up and coming workshops that we might be running through our page. And then we also use it to manage our committee. So we have a closed or secret group on Facebook where we have internal communications, which is a really visual way to keep people accountable to tasks they've committed to know when our meetings are coming up, to share information, to collaborate, to brainstorm things as a group. And that's working really well for us. In terms of supporting young people to become more connected, to be in practice as a community of leaders who are working in their communities now. Sometimes it's for the very first time for people, and sometimes it's people who've been doing that stuff for a very long time. We've got a national group where we invite people to share ideas. We also share opportunities that are coming up. We share more leadership opportunities and training that might be available. We also invite people to post their own events, so it's inspiring more and creative thinking around what kind of projects you can be designing in your communities as young people. So that really feeds into having these connections that are not just local, they're national, and also just having this place where people can continue to learn and also promote the kind of pathways that people can step into, not just volunteering, but also employment opportunities or growth opportunities and personal development opportunities. And I love this tool and platform because it's free. In terms of storytelling, our blog on our website as well as our Instagram account serves that really well. So that is also not just reaching our immediate audience we're already connected to, it's also telling the story to the rest of the world. And we encourage people to share that on their own social media platforms. And we've had some really beautiful interactions with people from overseas who are inquiring about the youth programs that we're running, who are wanting to access the tools that we have on our website to integrate that into their own projects. So that's a really nice, that's nice feedback to have that is reaching other people beyond the Landcare community in Australia and beyond the youth networks that we're working with in Australia. And also that connection and camaraderie. I mean, I know that I get a sense of that when I see lots of posts from other community groups, other Landcare groups. I love hearing the stories of what's happening in, on the other side of Australia or even internationally. And I get an opportunity to share that and learn from that and feel like I'm part of something bigger. And I know that that's been feedback from lots of volunteers who've come out in the field with us, and they just become a fan of what people are doing all around the country for the Australian environment. The other thing that's working really well is creating these, I mentioned this a little bit around the leadership stuff, but other communities are using Facebook in particular to create these communities of practice. I know that the local Landcare coordinators are really playing with this in New South Wales to share their learnings as people who are supporting communities. And it's just another bridge to build those authentic connections with like-minded people who are sharing the journey, who really want to make a positive impact in their local areas. And then all of that, which has been great, and we're still discovering what's working for us, and I'm sure there'll be more in the future. But I guess what's kind of emerging for us now in what we need and would love to explore more, and this will lead into the next session nicely with you, Rohan, is what's the technology that is really going to enhance and build on the level of collaboration and design that we're having. I mean, we're using Google Forms and documents at the moment to collaborate with networks with each other. We're using Facebook as a closed group, but we're still sitting on these multiple platforms. How can we bring that in so it's in the one place, it's visual, it's creative, people feel engaged, so we can be tapping into more expertise, more creativity, more resources. So I'm really curious to see how technology can serve that. The other thing that we're also interested in is hosting stable online meetings. We've played a little bit with Facebook Live for training, which hasn't worked so well with people who have very unstable internet connection. We'd love to host more webinars and workshops that have a bigger reach within the Landcare movement. At the moment, we're running things on the ground face-to-face in communities. I'm really keen to explore ways that we can freely and easily share our knowledge and skills more broadly. And also the ongoing issue of finding groups and projects really easily. And some really great feedbacks come back from young people we've worked with is, how do we know what projects are happening, what's near us, but also how do we know what's accessible to us? And some of the biggest barriers to people getting involved is feeling safe and welcome and invited to community projects. And there's been some pretty interesting stories that have come out where people have seen something advertised on a website and they've shown up to that community group, and actually that community group's really happy with the membership they've got, and your members weren't necessarily welcome. So knowing that up front would have been really, really great, and saved some sensitivity or awkwardness that people experienced in that. Having a visual tool that shows, okay, this site is accessible to young people. It's people with no experience or very little experience are welcome. It's family friendly. It's accessible to people with disabilities. So how can we make our projects more visible and accessible to people who have different needs? And then also, I know this has probably been the biggest issue within the Landcare movement forever, is how do we capture our data and statistics and our membership really well in the one place so we can access it, we can share our stories about our impact really easily. So I just want to hand over to you, Trish, to see what comments we've had around what's working well for other people.
Yeah, great. So, we've got a few people saying Facebook pages works quite well for them. Andrea is saying that it's especially good to share stories published through newspapers, and photographs with people get a lot of engagement. There's a few people, Nicole, Jerry and David, are saying that MailChimp works very well. David's pointing out it overcomes the problems of different committee members having different membership email lists. Then there's also a point from David about what's working for them is not using Facebook, because their members refuse to use it because of its reputation. So that's another take, I guess, on the use of Facebook. A few people are saying SurveyMonkey, and then Shell points to G Suite and the fact that they have a version for not-for-profits that lets you have unlimited accounts for your organisation, and it's good for sharing documents and storage as well.
Yeah, I love that too. And that's a really great point, is a lot of platforms do offer perks for not-for-profits. And another awesome tool that we use for all of our digital design work, our presentations, our posts, and our advertisements is Canva. So canva.com is a really great free graphic design tool. And if you are a registered not-for-profit, you can upgrade for free to their pro status, and that gives you lots of different features that you can use as well. So yeah, there are really great perks for community groups.
Right.
So over to you, Rohan.
Okay. Thanks for that, Megan. There were some really great points mentioned over there. And I'm hoping in this segment we can address a few of those potentials and challenges itself. But before jumping into Landcarer and what it's all about, I'd like to quickly take you through how Landcarer came about, to give you a sense of where we're coming from. Since joining Landcarer Australia almost 4 years ago, I've been engaging with groups in the digital space. And I've come across a few challenges. I noticed that while groups shared similar goals and experiences, they also existed in silos. I also came across individuals who needed to connect irrespective of geographic boundaries, which is why things like the state and national Landcare conferences are so great, because you get to meet individuals and then share your ideas over there. However, not everyone can make it to these conferences. I was also introduced to individuals who are hungry for knowledge and wanted to learn from the success stories of others. And on the other hand, I had individuals who wanted to share their knowledge and experiences with the community. A key point that we've been hearing a lot about of late is not just thinking about the Landcare movement today, but also planning for the future by engaging the next generation of Landcarers. Now, another challenge that I noticed was with digital trends moving at this rapid rate itself, the lack of risk and redundancy planning turns out to be a major issue, and I'm guessing most of us have faced issues like these. To illustrate this point, I've got 3 examples. The first one is where there's no ongoing technology support after an initial build or a platform's just been created. Essentially, what happens in a scenario like this is the platform just lies there. And given the pace at which digital moves, if the tool isn't used or updated regularly, all of a sudden you find yourself with a very redundant platform. And I'm sure most of us have faced an issue where you'd want to introduce new additions to your platform or make modifications, but over there you need a developer, which comes at a cost. I know I've faced similar issues when it comes to Salesforce. And ultimately you end up working with what you currently have until it stops working, or you just start to code, which is essentially how I came to be in this position. The second one is where an individual's created a particular group profile and that individual's no longer with the group. So someone's created your group profile, now no one has access to that particular profile. In this situation, I've noticed that you just go on and create a new profile. That seems to be the easiest way forward. But now it becomes difficult for others seeking information about this group to find the relevance between which the true profile is, when in reality, both profiles are relevant to them. And a third example, which is a far out one, but picking on what if Facebook shuts down tomorrow? I know this concept usually scares a lot of people, but what happens to that data? What happens to all the information, those ideas that you shared, to all those photos? To further validate this point, in April this year, Google shut down its own social network called Google Plus and started data deletion. So these are just few of the challenges that I've come across. That being said, the common goal for the Landcare movement is still strong, and we've got a ton of passionate and dedicated individuals and volunteers who want to make a positive difference. And I really wanted to help at this point in time. So as you mentioned earlier, Megan, there are numerous platforms out there to choose from, and trying to assist individual groups with their independent digital requirements was going to be impossible. Since there's no national repository for Landcare activities or digital tools being provided to Landcarers for free, I saw this as an opportunity. It sparked an idea to create an integrated digital platform for anything and everything to do with Landcare, Bushcare, Coastcare, Friends of, and all the other groups out there. I started building a framework in my free time, one that would empower individuals to break through the silos that currently separate us and those geographic boundaries. And the ideas started rolling. And this is where the potentials that you were talking about earlier comes into play. I started thinking about what else was possible. Could we make searching for information on projects, groups, workshops, documents easier and all in one place? Could we also use a project management tool to assist in grant applications or Landcare award nominations? What about using up-and-coming technologies such as augmented reality or virtual reality to engage users in learning and knowledge sharing, or a volunteer management tool for groups? And as you were stating earlier, would it be possible to gather data at a national level, incorporating all the micro projects to give a true sense of the impact of Landcare? And I started thinking of this as a 24/7 national Landcare conference where everyone was invited. Soon after which, the algorithm started flowing. The aim is to provide free tools on one platform where we can constantly improve and add features that benefit community. So think of it as a community tool that you use for work. Now, by using digital technologies, the hope was to engage every generation of Landcarers. And since the platform is web and mobile ready, you can access the platform anytime and anywhere. And I can't stress how important collaboration has been on this journey. For example, based on feedback and ideas that we received from Victoria, we've introduced a membership management feature that allows groups to manage their members online and access digital payments. Feedback from Queensland has resulted in us working on a feature to run surveys online and save costs for paid tools like SurveyMonkey that was mentioned earlier. We're also currently collaborating with a group in New South Wales to run a pilot project to live stream their project data straight into the platform itself. That being said, the focus was not to replace existing platforms, but honestly to integrate with them, which is why we've integrated a WordPress import feature to bring all your stories in just a few clicks of a button, or incorporated another feature to link up your multiple social channels into the platform itself. So you can share your stories to multiple social platforms directly from the account. Now, Landcarer has been built on 5 key pillars. The first one being connection, the second communication, collaboration, promotion, and learning. And all this has been possible only with individual and groups being able to share their problems with us and the ability for us to collaboratively come up with solutions. But what I find to have the most impact is to have ongoing support, which is why we've also created a support site that easily allows you to access video guides and how-to learning guides to use the platform. And both Trish and myself are honestly here to assist with any issues. And that's exactly where we are today, where we want to constantly improve the platform through collaboration by understanding the problems affecting groups and see if we can have a digital solution to them. So we've got the next slide, which is the key features on the Landcarer platform. So I'll run you through them to see exactly how we can use the platform. So through the stories section, you can share or read inspirational success stories, connect with others based on location at a regional, state, national level, or on the basis of shared interest. Manage your group, its stories, members, and give access to multiple administrators to help with the group's legacy plan. Manage your projects in an easy and collaborative way where anyone who posts on your project with a text, video, or photo essentially forms part of their project's history and legacy. And you can plan, schedule, invite participants to your events, engage in discussions, instantly connect with others through the chat feature, which really helps in coordination and planning. Participate or host your own webinars such as this one, or join an interest group with others that are as passionate about the subject as you are. You can access a repository of documents and research in the data bank module. And my favorite is the e-learning section, which gives anyone an opportunity to be a teacher and everyone an opportunity to become a student. And you can also get instant feedback on subjects that are important to you through the polls module. So if you'd like any more information on any of these modules, how your groups could effectively use them, suggestions for improvement or ideas that you believe might benefit others, feel free to reach out to us. Now, I just want to state that Landcarer is built for community and with community feedback. And I welcome everyone to think big and see what we can come up with together. So if there are any technology geeks out there, educationalists, inspirationalists, or if you're a Landcare champion in general and have something to share, reach out because we'd love to hear from you. And with that, we can now take questions. Okay, do we have any questions? Okay.
And Megan, I saw you set up your group on Landcarer the other day. Are you kind of having a play with the platform at the moment?
Yeah, I thought I'd dive on there and see how it works. And I think I'm really curious, just adding on to what you just shared, Rohan, is an opportunity to actually get like a guided tour of the platform and how it works. So I'm wondering if that's a next webinar or a next kind of live hosted session where we could jump on and have a bit of a play together, and that might stimulate some more feedback as well.
Absolutely, and that's something that we're constantly looking at. It's funny, every time we meet with a new group and they talk about their challenges, you just think of a new way you can incorporate that within the platform itself. Mm-hmm. So that sense of collaboration comes only once you start engaging with people. And what I was talking about with regards to the risk and redundancy plan earlier, if you don't have a plan for continued support, essentially the platform just ends up dead, which is what we're hoping to avoid over here. And instead of focusing on other platforms, like building on them, if you could focus on one plan or one platform, you can constantly innovate in that space itself.
So Nicole has asked a question, is this a duplication of what's already out there? Which is a good question.
I haven't seen any other platform like the Landcarer, which incorporates a social network for a specific community group. But as I said, we aren't trying to duplicate existing systems, but we're trying to integrate with them itself. But if you do have a platform which is similar, I'd love to hear about it. Anything and everything is a learning aspect for us.
Nicole's also wondering how to make it accessible for groups. Are there online tutorials?
There are online tutorials right now, and we're going to constantly update them as well.
Great. And Andrea is wondering, is there an app?
There is a mobile app as well. Again, so we're a really small team over here, trying to do what a Facebook with 20,000 people, employees are trying to do. So that it is going to take time to build it out into what it's supposed to be. But we're going to take community feedback on the features that we need to have. So we do have an app right now. It's not a full-fledged, all-out-there app, but it does have the major features that you particularly need from a platform itself.
And Jennifer just has a comment. So, kind of saying there seem to be multiple sites duplicating something similar to Facebook. Busy Landcare coordinators won't use them, they don't have the time, so they generally stick to the most popular platforms. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's kind of where, I know Rohan can talk more to this, but it's not kind of trying to be a Facebook. It's not just about promoting your stories.
Yep.
It's about building a community, but you guys can maybe talk a bit more about that.
Absolutely. So from my standpoint, it's Facebook traditionally has been used as a tool for promotion, and I know, Megan, you're using it to incorporate and engage with your groups through interest groups itself. But that's how it's traditionally been used because there were no platforms. Essentially, groups who don't have funding or budgets have tried to scramble and get access to whatever tools that were readily available to them. So we really aren't trying to reproduce it solely from a promotional standpoint, but we're also looking at it from a collaboration standpoint, from the ability to manage your projects online, and essentially that's where we're coming from. And if, say for example, you approach Facebook today and say, hey Facebook, I need to manage my members online, can you please build in this feature for me? Facebook's going to be like, no. but we have the ability to take that feedback on board and basically provide tools for community itself. Megan?
Yeah, can I just add? I think that was my immediate reaction when I heard about this platform, was like, oh, is it a duplication of effort? And that was kind of some of the comments that came back from the community once it was announced. And the more we've thought about it, the more I've thought about it, I think the thing that appeals to me from multiple perspectives as an individual and as a person who works with community is it has the potential to really have a focus on the existing Landcare community without this, as Rohan spoke about, the siloing of different pages and different groups and different closed groups and different, other platforms that are out there. So we all become a bit more visible to each other. As I mentioned, I really would love to explore learning more from other groups and networks who are doing similar things or doing really different things. I mean, I remember going out when we were working and volunteering on the ground, going out and meeting different groups who were tackling similar issues, and coming up with really innovative ways of addressing issues, and had amazing capacity to do so through their own learning. And then, 3 kilometres down the road was another group who just started out and was completely lost with what to do. And the only way we were really finding out about these innovative techniques and ways of overcoming issues was at regional forums and conferences or through the odd newsletter. But imagine if we're constantly hearing these stories from each other, or people have really diverse skills. They could say, hey, I would really love to host a webinar on this platform that invites everybody and anyone who's really interested in learning about, something to do with, a biosecurity issue or a particular way of managing a weed of national significance that no one had really thought about, or a way of thinking about something a little bit more out of the box and inviting that. And I feel like cutting out the noise that we have with other social media platforms or other digital tools could be a really great way to fast track groups and individuals' growth in their learning and connection and their ability to collaborate. So that's really what's starting to appeal to me, as well as this one-stop shop that kind of houses data that you can access really easily, and it's not sitting on multiple platforms in multiple spaces, and with the change and evolution of people coming into positions and may not get as easily lost, or so things like that are coming up for me, and the possibility of a platform like this.
Absolutely. And just to pick on that point itself, we presented at the National Biosecurity Conference last year, and the possibilities just burgeoned from there on out. So we had research institutions like CSIRO and other research-based universities that said they wanted to conduct on-ground projects but didn't have the bandwidth or the manpower to be on-ground in various locations. And they were looking at this tool to engage with volunteers on ground and essentially get them to run their projects for them itself, which honestly creates a new opportunity of sorts for on-ground Landcare groups as well. And the only way that's possible is when you start talking about it, and you can weed through all the other social clutter, those little cat gifs that show up on Facebook, and you can have those dedicated work-based conversations.
Sorry, Jerry's just wondering how's best to get all members to sign in. So I guess that's just kind of about the sign-up process, really.
Pretty much. And again, over here, because we control how information is processed on the platform, if there's a requirement to bulk sign up individuals with their permission, of course, you can just get in touch with us and we can help assist with those processes.
Right. He's also asking, have we uploaded any historical data and stories?
Well, we do have stories online, and these are mostly just the Landcare-focused stories that Landcare Australia has published in the past. But the aim is to engage with research organizations like CSIRO to basically get their research material on board and any other public documentation which is currently available. and have that published. So essentially, if you're searching for a specific topic such as sustainable agriculture, you just key that in, and then you can find individuals who are interested in it. You can find documents and data, webinars, groups that are working on similar projects all in one space itself. So it kind of focuses you within that subject framework itself.
Great, thank you. Sorry, I know we're just running a few minutes over time, over the promised 45 minutes. But I'd just like to thank everyone for attending and for your comments and your questions. Any that we haven't responded to, we'll get back to afterwards. We'd also love to hear from you if you have any suggested topics for future webinars. And yeah, the email address there, hi@landcarer.com.au. If you've got any ideas, we'd love to hear from you. And thank you very much to Megan and Rohan for presenting today.
Thanks, Megan.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.